Welcome to the Collector's Catacomb, episode number 13. Tonight we got a freelance of a schedule open. We're just going to talk about a little bit of this, a little bit of that, some sunken treasure, some depression glass, some, I think, Zenith stuff, some radios, a Watchman's clock. I don't know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but it's all going to be related to collecting and collectors and a little bit of history. So, without further said, my name is Eric Castle. I'm a collector of militaria mostly, but I also get into a few other things. I manage the Allied Militaria Forum, and I run the sourcingforum.com. Well, my co-hosts for the evening are my Master of Ceremonies, Sean Cooltoads, and Dan from More Old Stuff. So, Sean, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
I am Cool Toads, aka Sean. Do have a channel here on YouTube called Cool Toads. I also do have a Facebook page too, Cool Toads Pad. And I'm on here. Plus, I have the Toadcast tomorrow, 5 o'clock Pacific, and then I'm having a special Thanksgiving. Wow, St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, cool.
Free for all, basically, on Tuesday. Anything goes. And the people that I'm inviting, if you're easily offended, you don't want to be there. So yeah, it'd be some drinking, some carrying on, some shenanigans, all that stuff. So be wearing your green. That one's going to start at like, I think 7 o'clock Pacific, because it's going to be after the green room. So, or maybe 6 or 7. I don't know. I'll put a final time out there sometime. But yep.
Cool.
Awesome, Sean. Well, and Dan, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Dan. More Old Stuff is what my seller's I guess name is, and my YouTube channel, Dan at More Old Stuff. So I have been a collector all my life and do some resale, but I'm really more passionate about the antiques and collectibles things, and I have a house full of stuff, so I could, like I was telling you tonight, I could be here to do this whole show, just sit here and talk about everything. So anyhow, I got a YouTube channel where I show all my latest finds, and you can click on my name on here. I think I've got a link down here in the descriptions too if you're watching the video after the live event. But anyhow, welcome everybody. And it's hot in Southern California. It's going to be 90 degrees here tomorrow.
Nice.
It's going to start getting warm here then.
Yeah. Hey. Oh, look at that.
Just in time.
We've got Drew.
Speaking of Southern California.
Yeah.
Let me go throw on a shirt. Hold on.
Okay, thanks.
We are live, buddy. And
not that kind of show, dude.
Oh man. Well, we'll swing back
That's the
around
Catacomb after hours.
Right. We'll swing back around to Drew here in a minute. We'll let Dan go ahead and get started with one of his plethora of collecting interests tonight.
Well, I'll start off with something really small because it comes with an interesting story when I found it. So you've probably seen these around, and I know Chad knows what these are, and he has shown these too. This is it's a Edison cylinder recording tube. So you've seen the ones that you put on it. It's a cylinder device. It has the horn. You stick it on there and you play music. This is the one. This is a recordable one. It's used for dictation machines. It was the same. It was the same technology. I'm getting this out. There's a little rubber seal on the bottom. So you see this. This is all made out of wax. It's really, really smooth, but it's made out of wax. So it's fairly new. Let's see if I can get this to focus better. There you go.
New as in like a
It's actually never. I don't believe this one has ever been used.
Just not used.
Never,
okay.
It's never been like recorded on. What they do, I have another one that has been used. So what they do is they'll record on it. You know, the assistant will, or back in the day, the secretary would record onto it, dictate onto it. They would use it to play back wherever in a meeting or whatever they were going to do with it. but then they would take, and there was a device that would shave that recording piece off. Because this is so soft, they could just shave it off and be able to reuse it again. And they would just keep doing that until it got down to where it was really thin. And I have another one that's a little bit thinner than this one, so it looks like it has been used a few times. But that's what this is. Comes in this tube, and it's got a little the holder in the bottom that keeps it in. The way it works is it actually stays inside of here, and you slip it onto the main hub, and then you pull it off, and then this stays on there, so you don't have to touch it. Because if you touch this, because it's so soft, after it's recorded, you probably mess up the recording on it because it is pretty soft. But it's wax all the way through, and you can feel it all the way through. So that's really cool. I got a few of these. So here's my story. So I went to an estate sale. I just got these a few weeks ago. Went to an estate sale, and there were a bunch of these laying all over. Well, there was a pile of them, but I started seeing these other parts. There were Edison type parts for things laying all over. There were already recorded cylinders. There were pieces and all these stuff laying around, but there was no device. And so I asked the estate sale guy who was running it. Go, so did you guys have this? Because I was there late. Did you guys have this? Did you already sell it or something? He goes, well, yeah, we had it. It was we didn't know what it was. They said it was in a metal box and it was locked, and we thought it was a toolbox. So we couldn't get it open, and we didn't want to break the lock on it. So we just left it there, and we put like $40 on it because we thought it was a toolbox. And so some guy came by and he bought it for $40 and says, well, I can pick the lock or I'll do something to take it off. And then after it left, somebody told him, well, that was probably the actual Edison recording machine that you just sold for $40. And they're probably worth like $800 if it was working. And so he was like, oh, well, I guess, he didn't care. So I was like, well, my heart just went, oh my gosh, if I was here earlier, I could have had that for $40 because I would have recognized what it was right away. But anyhow. Let me do another thing. You want to introduce Drew?
Oh, we got Drew. All right, good to see you fully clothed, Drew.
Yeah, there you go.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Drew, the California Picker. I was just in the backyard shooting a video, but with the time
no
change,
shirt. What kind of video are you shooting?
It's California. It's California, It's still
well, yeah.
It's hot up there too.
No, seriously, it was 85 degrees today. So right now it's about 78.
It was
you can go out.
70.
Yeah. So anyway, nobody's gonna see me in the backyard either, so that's a good thing. So I have a channel called what's my channel called? California Pickin', and I specialize in fine art, antiques, antiquities, and vintage collectibles. And I have a Facebook page called The California Picker. And so if you have any cool questions, shoot them my way, And it's good I made it tonight.
Drew. Great to have you here.
Been finding some cool stuff, though, Erik. That's for sure.
Yeah, I saw one of your posts, man. That was crazy.
That's awesome. Well, I got some depression glass to show you tonight, Drew. I know you'll appreciate that.
Okay.
Switch back to you for a little bit while we work on getting the sunken treasure story brought up. What else you got to share with us tonight?
Okay. Well, here's a cool thing. This is a military item that I just got. This is from my collection. These are, this is right side up. So these are flyers. These are pamphlets that were dropped on Japan during the occupational landing, the Army occupational landing, which was in October of 1945. So it was the surrender. Japan surrendered in August of 1945, and so this was actually the ships that all came into Japan and landed, and troops came onto Japan, the country, for the first time after the occupation, major occupation came in. So these were flyers that were dropped on Japan by the Americans, and I have not word for word translated these, but the gist of what's on these is basically telling the Japanese what was going on. And hey, we're your friend. You know, we're now coming to occupy your country. Don't shoot us. The war is over, right? And probably asking for. I mean, I don't know. I haven't yet to translate this. I'm going to work on getting this translated so I can figure out what it is. But the cool thing.
Hey Dan, why is there a postage stamp on there and a postmark?
I'm going to tell you right now. So.
Okay.
The cool thing about these are, and I collect these, and I have several from Germany, and when they were dropped by the Germans on the Americans and that kind of stuff. But this is a postage stamp. There was a soldier that picked these up, or probably was one of the ones responsible for delivering them. He was on the USS Marvin H. McIntyre at the time, and he actually mailed these home from the ship, and he put a stamp on them, and it's dated October the 28th, 1945, which is the actual historical date of the occupation, the initial occupation of when the Army occupied Japan, and they actually went onto the island. And that's what this one is too. Now this is another one, and then on the back is another stamp that actually tells the. There you go. Oops, is that upside down? It actually tells the ship name. You can see it on there. There you go. The USS McIntyre.
He's sending these from the ship or to the ship?
From the ship. He's sending these from the ship to home.
So where were they addressed to? How do they find out where they go?
What I think what he did is he had them, because most ships had a post office on board, that he had them stamped and dated, just like a first day issue, issue envelope. He had them stamped and dated on the ship because the ship was involved in this occupational landing. So he had them stamped and dated on the ship. I think that's where this came from, and it might be also where that stamp came on. This one's a different date. This is January 1946, and it's actually stamped with New York. So this might be where it was received.
Yeah, that makes sense, because why are they individually stamping and postmarking each one of these things?
So this is where it came from, the ship, and then there's the stamp. It may have been where it docked when it got back to after their.
There's another phenomenon, Dan. Tell me if you're familiar with this. But people like to actually send things through the mail so they can document the date that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen that before.
Yeah, that's cool.
I have a lot of ephemera that way that are envelopes. They're called first day issues or first day releases, and they stamp them, so they'll either be autographed or it'll commemorate a specific date in history to prove that you were there and you were part of that. You go to the post office and you mail it to yourself. Or you can go to a post office and they'll stamp it. They'll postage stamp something and just hand it back to you. You don't have to mail it, so you can get things done. And then now you've got this collectible thing that's proven that officially the federal government has stamped it with a seal that said this is the real thing and the real date and everything.
Precisely.
So that's what that's all about.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You want me to go on, or you want to go, Drew, next? You got your story for the gold treasure?
Hey Drew, I've got the stuff pulled up. Are you ready to talk about it? The Israeli treasure?
Yeah, we can briefly talk about it. I didn't really do a super amount of investigatory work on it, but I just found that the story was pretty interesting just as on a whole, and then we can get into talking about the issue about finding it and who ends up with it. I think that was the interesting part, there was a hoard of gold coins found off of the Israeli coast in some water. I don't know how far out it was or what have you, but I guess it fell within their jurisdiction, and this was the largest cache of gold coins in that region ever found. There it is. And these two guys went down. They picked up, I guess, a couple. They were recreational divers, and they were just going down there. I think that they found a couple of these coins, and then I think they came back and got more or got all of them. I could be wrong. Let's see. Anyway, they did the right thing. They actually turned them in to the government, or let the government know that they had found these. And that actually was a really bad idea, because the government seized these gold coins, you guys, and didn't offer any kind of reward or any kind of promise to return these to these guys. Now there you see him on the beach. So maybe they weren't.
I think they did that for the photo shoot.
Oh, okay. I was confused about that too, because I heard that it was found in water. Now look how clean this gold is, you guys. I mean, gold is like the most purest metal in the world. And look, it's been down there for a couple thousand years or whatever, and look at it. It's absolutely perfect. You know? I'm not sure what language that is. Is that Arabic or don't know? It doesn't look like Hebrew. But this brings up the whole subject of finding stuff and like who ends up with it, and what a ripoff. I mean, these guys found some amazing things, and I don't think they're going to get jack squat out of it. So I thought that whole issue was really funny, and not funny, but you know, really sad for these guys, because this brings up the whole idea of what you can keep and what you can't, and when does it become international or national property.
But I've wondered why by now, you hear a lot where the governments, they'll either, if they do eventually give these guys something, it'll take, you know, years and years and years. But, and they might do this, what my thought was, is even though it's a little morally, you know, not right, or it is, either way, however you look at it, I wondered how many of them keep stuff to themselves, you know, and then they have connections somewhere where they can sell some of that stuff, like private collections, you know, and, you know, other collectors out there. And I'm wondering, you know, it seems like more and more are going to start doing that now that if the governments keep doing like what they're doing. So,
I mean, I hope that's a good point. I hope these guys at least kept one of these darn things.
Something, yeah, right? For a token or something, you know.
The thing about it is generally it comes down to almost a finder's keeper type thing, you know, where Sunken Treasure has, you know, it's just, I don't know, like they go out and they find it and whatever, they own the rights to it. You know, they can claim the rights to the ship when they find it. But it seems like some of the governments have gotten wise to that, and that they can claim rights to it even though they let them go out there and find it and spend all their money finding it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a famous...
And the sad part is that, I mean, okay, so to go hunting for it, if they are in Israeli waters, they have to have permits. So the government already knows they're out there looking, so they've got ships and planes waiting for them, and they wait for them to get it. So it's not like they can sneak in, you know, and go get it. They have to have permits to be there. They have to have all these, you know, licenses for their ship. They have to have all this stuff, so they know they're there. I mean, I don't know if you've ever watched. There was a series about guys that were trying to find a couple of ships. They were on a ship and they were going around looking for sunken ships, and they had problems with Italy a lot because they were outside of Italian waters for a while, and it was the same kind of thing. You know, you have to have the permits to be in their waters, but then now you just showed your hand that, you know, I'm out here finding treasure, so they're going to be looking at you and ready to rob you, basically.
Maybe they have some government official or something on the ship then, probably, to ensure that doesn't happen. Maybe
they may not let them in the waters doing this unless they have a representative from the country to monitor their activities. You know.
Yeah, I mean, so what it comes down to is that basically these treasure hunters are having to fight for their rights to this now. You know.
Well, there's a famous case, and this is the most famous of all the shipwrecks ever found, and it's called the Atocha. Do you guys remember that one?
Oh yeah, yep.
And that was a guy named Mel Fisher, and
Yeah.
he and his sons looked for that treasure for, I don't know, what was it, like 5, 10 years? I don't know what it was. It was a long time.
Oh yeah.
And he found the Atocha, which is a Spanish galleon full of silver, the most silver bars ever found anywhere. And they brought up, I don't know what it was. What was it, guys? Like $50 million worth of stuff.
It was, yeah.
And now in that case,
Crazy.
I can't remember where that was, but I think that was off of.
It was off of Florida.
Yeah,
That was off of
Florida.
Florida.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was the United States they were dealing with, and maybe that's the difference, because years later, they were able to, through the law, split this with the government. I think they got a share, and then they set up a museum. And I don't know if they charge tickets. I think they do to see the gold. But each one of them got a little bit of something. So some guy took a big chain. Some guy took some bars. I mean, each got a little bit. I was all weighed out. And in that case, it went well for them, And he died, but his sons, got a good chunk of it. And just recently, I don't know if you can pull this up. This one's a good one. This just happened like 2 days ago, I think, where a guy, a husband, was in the house, and his wife was like, why don't you get out of the house, get out of my hair. And so he was like a metal detector guy. So he was like, oh, okay, I'll go out and metal detect. Well, he found like a 2.5 kilo gold nugget, just like 3 inches, 3 inches under the ground.
Wow.
I mean, this just happened 2 days ago or something, and it's worth something like 140,000, something like that. He's going to be able to keep it because I don't think he found it on anybody's private property, and I know Sean Cool Toads watches Beau Omelette. Is that how I'm pronouncing it?
Yeah. We met. Like
We met.
W-E. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah,
omelet or something.
Yeah. That's what I thought it was at first.
And he's a metal detector. And I watch another guy named Deep Digger Dan. He's an English guy, really funny dude.
Yeah. Seen him.
And then I've just joined up on a new guy, and I saw this amazing little find he made on a live dig. He was digging up silver coins and a couple gold coins right there live. And it wasn't fixed. It was in a big grassy field, and he was digging up fresh dirt, fresh vegetation over it, and he was finding silver and gold coins, and it was like sick. I'll just have to go back and find out what the video is and then post it on the Collector's Catacomb. But that was cool.
Somebody said watch.
I also watched Nugget Noggin. I think
Nugget
I spelled
Noggin.
his name right. Yeah, he's a young guy, young kid. That kid just, he's got a nose. He just,
Yeah.
I mean, he's like one of those pigs that search for truffles, man. He just finds it.
Well, before we
that
got
kid, man.
before we got started here, the chat was going, and somebody mentioned metal detectors and stuff, and there was a couple people here. Who was that? Was that
Wade
said they had
was
Wade
asking
and-
about one.
Yeah, and then somebody said they had one. Was asking about
Laura.
metal detectors. I said, look at my hat, right? Look at my hat on here.
Laura
Yeah.
Lee and the SA Pickers also have.
Yeah,
I was
I
telling
have one.
Dan. Yeah, go ahead.
I have one, but I mean, I go to the beach, and the best I find is maybe some quarters, or I haven't found
Machine
anything.
weights.
Yeah,
That'd be me.
penny. Oh, I walk around the volleyball, places on the beach, and I find lots of pennies and change for people lose out of their pockets. That's about it. Go under the kiddies, sliding board and swings, and I find pennies and stuff. So that's about the best I've done. So
Yeah, So it's just fascinating. I think as a picker, we're out there actually trying to find gold every day, and it's a real similar experience. And I was telling Dan before, because he's got a metal detector and I have one. I have an old one, and the old ones don't tell you what kind of metal it is, so you're there digging up a lot of trash. But the new ones, they really detect, the type of ferrous metal and non-ferrous metals, and you kind of know how deep to dig and all that other stuff. So it really maximizes your time. But I was telling Dan that it's tiring. Your neck hurts, your arm hurts, your back, you're bending over, you're digging up this stuff. It's not an old man's game, that's for sure.
Oh no, man! My elbow hurts so bad, my wrist, because you got this. I mean, it does come up and it braces here, and
Yeah.
you can strap it down. But in the beginning, it's light and it's balanced and it feels good. But man, after about 2 hours of walking around and those headphones squeezing your head, and you're going, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna
Start
die!"
dragging it.
I know you're like pulling it behind you.
I totally gave up, but you know what? It doesn't mean that I'm not going to try it again. And it also is very interesting when these guys do research and they go to areas that are known for stuff like the Civil War memorabilia stuff. You'll find bullets and possibly some other things like buckles maybe or buttons. And those
Shells and
it's funny-
cannonballs. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it's funny because these guys don't care what they find. If they're just finding a little something, they don't really care. They don't like the trash. But if they find something simple, a little button or a little
a bullet.
I mean, a little knob, they just love it.
Yeah. I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy to find little trinkets like that, but all we have is crap on our beaches. We got I'm hoping to find somebody's wedding ring, big old honking diamond on it or something, man. I do have a friend that does it. That does it a lot, and he's been doing it for 30 years or whatever. And he showed me his pile of stuff that he's found, and he's found lots of wedding rings. His wife was wearing this nice, like a carat and a half diamond ring that he found on the beach, and maybe that's why I couldn't find anything. He was there before me. Picking the beach.
Yeah,
picking the beach.
the one he's been in.
It was there before me, man.
For the last 5 years.
I never thought of that.
What you don't realize, what you do realize when you do this is it's worse than a needle in the haystack. It's
yeah. Well, you start looking. You walk onto a beach, right? And you go, well, I can only cover, right? I have like a 6-inch. I think mine's a 6-inch coil. You can only cover that much per swipe as you walk along, right? And you're going, holy cow, this is going to take me 100 years to cover this beach.
Maybe we should get one of those rolling, what do they call them? They're like deep penetrating.
Yeah, those sensors that they make like out of PVC pipe. They're like about 12 feet square, and you can just pull it behind you and wait for it to beep. Yeah, that's what I do. I want to get something. Mine will not go underwater. Mine's not waterproofed, and I want to get the type of coil that I can put underwater, because salt water really it's a mineral, right? So if you get your metal detector in near salt water, it starts going crazy. So I'd like to get one, and then you set the settings right. They actually make metal detectors that are better tuned for underwater, and I'd like to do it because what I am hearing is that if people are going to lose something like a ring off their finger, they're going to do it while they're out in the water. And so, and as the surf comes in or whatever, it might come up closer, but you got to get in a couple feet of water and kind of be able to walk around. So, anyhow, I'm dreaming. You got me started now. I'm probably going to go down and dust off my metal detector and
That's
on the beach.
Well, we met. He goes underwater and everything. He has a lot of videos where he's diving underwater in fast-moving rivers and just craziness, man. It's amazing what's down there.
Yeah, he's especially good. He's especially good with that underwater stuff. The other guys do mostly groundwork, but Bo seems to do a lot of the underwater stuff, and that's cool because the camera. What has he got? Like a GoPro or something, right? Like a water.
Or what is he? Yeah, GoPro. Yeah.
Yeah, so he can submerge that camera down there, and you get the whole thing, and it's just exciting. I think it's just like anything else. If you saw a UFO or if you saw a Bigfoot, or you found some gold, you'd be obsessed the rest of your life. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just think that, you'd be obsessed. I mean, if I found something, that'd be it.
He found a few GoPros in those rivers too. It's pretty funny.
You guys hear me okay? Somebody said something that they weren't hearing me very well. Am I too muffled?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, you might just need to
Yeah, you
pull it
might.
out a little bit.
All right.
You know, where
Yeah.
See how that works. Yeah, a little too close.
you might need to get a little piece of foam to stick on there, Dan, and that would stop the pop and the static. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this thing's really sensitive, so sometimes I don't adjust it. Right.
So speaking of treasure, I don't know if you guys saw my video the other day, my little dumpster dive.
Yeah. Oh man. Sorry.
What, you did or you didn't?
I did. Yeah, it was amazing.
Oh.
Well, it depends.
Oh, okay.
Is that the only one you did, or with the? Go ahead.
Yeah, that was the recent one. But you want me to talk about that, Erik?
Yeah, go for it.
So there's this one dumpster that I go to, and there's nothing disgusting in there. I don't even have to get into the dumpster. It's pretty much all there on the top, and they're throwing all kinds of stuff away, and they don't look at everything. And I find some pretty cool stuff in there. Like a few weeks ago, I found a sterling silver pin and some kind of Swarovski crystal encrusted some type of device for the computer. Anyway, so I'm in there the other day and I find a whole bunch of stuff and I just put it in my bag, ask questions later, look at it later. Whatever looks interesting I'm picking out, and I got a whole knapsack full of stuff. So anyways, go check out my video because it's on there. But the really find was at the end where I actually sat down at the table and looked at some of the stuff, or looked at one piece, and it is an antique sterling silver letter opener, but it's not just any letter opener, it's made by Tiffany.
Wow.
Not crazy.
You guys,
Cool.
is that picking up on the
Hold still just 1 second. Back off just a little bit. It's not focusing.
Yeah, it's not quite coming up.
It's right here. It says Tiffany and Company Sterling. And wow, guys. I mean, the
cool.
stuff was like right there on the top, and some of the stuff was kind of falling toward the bottom. And what you want to do is you want to do this really gently so the stuff doesn't fall to the bottom, because you'll never get it unless you get in there. And anyways, I saw this thing. I thought, what is that? A knife? Oh no, wait! It's a paper. I mean, it's an envelope opener. I'll stick it in my bag. And then I brought it home and I looked at it and I sat down with the loop and I couldn't believe. There's a little cartouche here that's not filled in, which is good.
Mm.
That means somebody else can put their little initials on there. But this is probably something like 1930s, 1940s. It's a 7-inch model. These came in 2 different sizes, 7 and 9.25. Isn't that funny? Tiffany made their 9-inch model exactly 9.25 inches long to represent silver, I guess, because they're known for silver. And 7 is a good luck number, so 7 and 9.25 on these. It's very flat, very basic, very utilitarian. Later on, they got tapered. They had handles. They had little knobs on the end, etc. But this one's just a basic Art Deco style.
And the entire piece is silver, right? The blade and everything,
Yeah,
sterling.
Yeah, the whole thing. So it weighs 1.1 ounces in silver, but I guess that's not the point, because when I looked this up, they were going for something like, I don't know, 80 to 125 for this size. And some guy was selling, just trying to get rid of it real quick for 55. Great find. I mean, this is why you go out there and find stuff. It's just like treasure hunting to me,
That's the needle.
Yep, that is the needle in the haystack. And then you want me to keep on going?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, here's a great find. I don't know if you saw my video on vintage porcelain bisque dolls.
It was like Louis the Fourth or something.
Did you guys check that out? Did you check out my video?
You know, I didn't watch it all, unfortunately. Sorry.
Okay. It was kind of long, but don't be afraid of these porcelain bisque dolls. They can go for 10 to 20,000 and up if you get the right one.
Look at those eyes.
Yeah, look at the eyes, you guys. Let me just... These are glass eyes.
Chucky.
Yeah, let's see if we can get that up close. Where are they? Look at that. And I have a pretty good eye for dolls. I don't know everything, but I'm learning quite a bit. Each time I find something, I learn like miles of information because I'm just like that. I just love finding out and learning about things. So I was now the collecting genre that you kind of want to be in is German and French bisque-headed dolls, and there's carved wooden dolls that are great and wax. This one happens to be a bisque-headed doll, and it's got a kind of real human hair or mohair type of wig that's been intertwined and kind of interlaced into her head. And she's got real glass eyes, as I said. And she's got what's called a kid skin body, or they just shorten it and they call it a kid body. And it's filled with sawdust. And that's how you know it's an older doll. The old ones are filled with sawdust. Now, she dates from somewhere around, and I just learned this from some other experts, guys. So it's not just coming out of my head, but she's around 1880s.
Wow.
So she's 1880s, 1890s, and she's
wow, what great shape! Holy moly!
Yeah, she's a German doll. She's 20. Look at this. Let me see if I can show you this. She's 22 inches tall. And this is kind of an abnormal height. Usually these dolls are, 10 inches, 7 inches, 8, 16 inches, but 22 is pretty abnormally big.
So 22 would add value? I know we don't talk prices, but I mean, it would add more value to them. Okay.
Yeah, the bigger the dolls, I think the better in general. But some of these small dolls, if they're special and incredible, they'll sell in the upper ranges. So I put out a video and I gave a little spiel on the doll, and I had joined a doll group, which is interesting. When I find something, I just go join a group on Facebook. Like, if you find something, just go join a group and then post your pictures and then ask their advice, ask their opinion. You learn so much from that, and you suck up all that information and it goes into your memory bank. So I found out this is probably a German doll, which I suspected it was a German doll. Now I was really hoping that it was a French doll, because the greatest French dolls are called Jumeau, is the first one. And the one you really want is called a Bru, B-R-U. And that's a French doll. And it's just a particular type of doll made by this company back in the 19th century. And they're just the greatest doll makers ever. And some of them have set some records. I think the world record for a doll was $300,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Hey, Kathleen. Hey, Drew. Kathleen Brown. I don't know if you looked up or investigated. Kathleen Brown wants to know if you'd clean that. Would you?
You know what? I haven't.
Tiffany.
I haven't, Kathleen. I just left it as is because I'm no expert, and I didn't want to do anything that might be invasive or something that might lessen the value. So I'll just leave her as is. Now, she's got a couple flaws, and some of the experts pointed this out, and this lessens her value greatly, you guys. I was a little disappointed to hear this. She's got little tiny flakes around her eye sockets that are little chips, and doll collectors, the intense doll collectors, don't like that. And like 90% of the doll's value is in the head. Can you believe that? So you could have a whole doll, but the head is so important. Now she's got these great blue eyes, and they're called paperweight glass eyes. And when you see them from the side, they have a certain dimension to them. You're not going to see it really here, but this dimension right here is creates a lot of depth, you know. In general, this is another good little point to make. A closed-mouth doll sells for more than an open-mouth doll.
Really?
Yep. And so what else can I say? She's just a really cool doll. Probably worth, if she was in perfect condition, about $500-600 possibly. In her condition now, she's probably $150 to $250.
They were wondering about Angie Martin and Kathleen were wondering about the Tiffany, if you would clean that or not.
Clean the doll?
No, the Tiffany letter opener.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good debate, because I was just asking my friend who's more of a silver guy than me. My friend says go ahead and clean it. I just wanted to shoot the video to show you guys how, you know, old it looked, and how like somebody mistaken this thing for, I don't know, just regular metal.
Yeah, they probably just thought it was crap. Yeah.
Yeah. So good question, Kathleen. And who was the other one?
Angie Martin.
And Angie Martin. Angie Martin, yeah. Two of my loyal viewers there. And let's see, what else can I show you? Do you want me
sorry
to,
to interrupt.
keep,
they also want to. Kim wants to know what else can the dolls be filled with other than like sawdust. Are there other things that they filled them with back then?
Yeah, there is. And what happened was the early doll makers made it with sawdust and the kid skin, and then the guy named Emile Jameau, who was from a long line of family of doll makers, he inherited the company from his older brother and his father, and he developed these jointed dolls. So the jointed dolls are going to be the newer dolls. So they'll have sockets, and they'll have movable heads and movable legs. Whereas this one, it's not. It's just it's basically a big sack that's been stuffed with sawdust. And what's interesting about her is she's got this backside that's kind of flat. So she can you can pose her in sitting positions, etc. Doll collectors are real anal about putting their dolls in different clothes and different positions and settings. Anyways, this guy Emile Jameau came up with that new jointed doll. So I don't really know what was on the inside of those things, but they also started doing the hands and the arms in all bisque or ceramic, porcelain, what have you. So my dolls mostly, you know, kid skin and cloth. And then it's got these hands that are made out of porcelain. The feet are just regular. There's nothing in them. They're just stuff. But good question.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
look at this. This is a hell of a find. Should I keep going?
Yeah, man.
All right, I'm on a roll. Look at this, guys. We got the new Star Wars movie coming out. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm not really into it, but when I pick up something that's Star Wars related or Star Trek related or anything that's gonna do well, I always do. And this is a little mini hoard of comic books that I found the other day by Marvel. And let's go check these out. This comic book is from 1977, and it's the larger size. It's not the smaller size. And I need a little bit of help on this, you guys. Let me know if you can find the information. This is the number of the edition, number 1, the Star Wars number 1. But this actually is not the real Star Wars number 1. It's got Luke Skywalker on the cover. So
yeah,
a little.
does that say $1 on there?
Yeah, so
Yeah, it
that's
says
not
$1.
what that is, because I have a collection of Star Wars. I have some
Yeah,
#1 Star Wars.
yeah.
So they, believe me, they made a ton of them. They did a lot of reprints because they released the #1 Star Wars comic book before the movie was released. I think the first one or two was actually out to the public, and when the movie got released, it was so popular they did a reprint, and they did a multiple of reprints. So they did another reprint of numbers 1, 2, and 3. And there's a lot of distinctions. Maybe sometime we could go over the differences to how to figure out which one's what, because there's a lot of #1s. Then they did this one, which is actually the giant size, the giant book they call them, as a reprint. I mean, it's still done in the 1970s, and it's still really cool. It's not quite as popular as the true numbers 1, 2, and 3 that
Right.
first came out, because of the rise in popularity, Marvel was printing out anything they can to make some more money off of Star Wars, and they were doing these kind of books, and they did the large series also, and that's what that is. Now that's cool. I mean, right now, I mean, I do that too. I pick up anything Star Wars,
Now,
everything.
Dan, right here, this little square, it's got a name, and I was thinking that name was like a subcontractor that
Yeah,
sold it. Yeah,
Whitman. Yeah,
yeah.
Whitman's a publishing company that probably got rights to it. I don't know the story behind that because Marvel was the first one to print the series. I actually own
Ah.
the entire Marvel Star Wars series, all 117 copies issues of it.
Oh, you have it?
Yeah, I liked Star Wars, and back in the 80s, I ended up starting to collect it, and then I ended up buying a collection of every single one of them, and so I'm hanging on to that one.
And that one I looked that up. It sells between $3 and $20.
Yeah.
Um, Not to talk value, but hey, uh,
Let's see the
just
Whitman.
just to give
Value.
you a range.
You value every piece.
Yeah, these
Yeah,
aren't
it
these.
seems like you guys are figuring out a way to sneak that value stuff in there every show.
Well, you know what I guess I want to tell the viewers is this is not going to make you rich, and you're not going to be able to retire on this. Okay. So just to let you know,
Right.
I find a lot of valuable stuff. These are just great collectible items. So, and another one of these, also from 1977. And they're the larger size, which is cool.
And one thing too, when you're talking, collectors are this way too, so it could be for value resale or for collecting. The quality of the book is just like any paper, any collectible, any antique. The quality of it is what the price really is. Like you said, you found them anywhere from $3 to $25. I'll bet you those $25 were like almost pristine. They didn't have any bends in the binding, and there was no
Yeah.
scratches on it, no dog-eared pages, that kind of stuff.
These are pretty nice, Dan. I mean, they got
They are.
some age discoloration, no doubt about it. This one's from 1978, Battlestar Galactica,
Yeah, that's cool.
and that's $2 to $20. I saw. I was hoping one of these things would hit the jackpot, and I don't know, King Kong, just kind of cool. Moving on, the Hulk. Now there's always something to learn about comic books. Sounds like Dan knows quite a bit, so I'd like to talk to him more about this. But all these Hulk and Spider-Man copies, etc. This one's Batman versus the Hulk, and it looks like on the low end it's $25. On the high end, there's 90. This one is a pretty good one. I have to say, this is $99. There's some guy trying to get $199 for this one. But what do you think of that, Dan?
Oh, that's cool. That's a
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not the expert. And then Spider-Man, this one has a low of $17.50 and a high of $175. So Spider-Man's always a good one. I don't know. These might be crazy prices. I don't know. Tell me.
Yeah, again, it's all the condition.
Yeah.
The big books don't seem to be as You know, I mean, it all depends. You know, if you're just a diehard Spider-Man fan and you want to buy everything that's Spider-Man, then you're going to buy it, right?
Yeah.
If you're really into collecting as an investment, which there's a lot of people that do, you're going to be looking for high-end quality, and you're going to be looking for those books that are a lot more rare. Then you're going to be paying a lot more for them because you know that in the future that price is only going to go up. The value is only going to go up on those things. So you know, it's diverse, man. It's really diverse.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a different way of collecting, and yeah,
I like your
cool.
shirt. I like your T-shirt, by
I
the
know,
way.
I know, Iron Man shirt. Thanks.
Okay, that's about it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Drew. And then I guess we'll get into a little bit of depression glass. I really want to show you this, Drew, because I know you'll appreciate it. So my local thrift store switches over from winter to spring. And they closed down for a few days, and then they reopened, and they reopened on Monday. And I just went in and went mad. I filled a cart, but one of the coolest things is I cleared off an entire shelf of depression glass, which all happens to be hallmarked for Heisey, which the hallmarks on these is a capital H inside of a diamond. And the name for this color from Heisey, which to give you a little bit of back history on them, Heisey glass was made from 1896 to 1957 in Newark, Ohio, by a gentleman named A.H. Heisey. And they were bought out by the Imperial Glass Company after 57, but they stopped using the Heisey hallmark. So that gives you an idea of when this was. This particular color of glass didn't come about until 1925, which they tended to use exotic names for their colors. So they called this one Moon Gleam, is the name for their green glass. So here's this would be I believe it's the Empress patterns on top here, but they also called it dolphin. Yeah, dolphin heads. The feet on it, if you can see, hopefully it focuses.
Yep.
They're little dolphin heads.
Mm-hmm.
Holding it up.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah, man. I mean, it's heavy. I haven't done a ton of research, so I don't know exactly what this particular dish was meant for yet.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for the Heisey hallmark on this one. It was really faint. Yeah, you won't be able to see it. It's really faint, but it's on the inside of this leg right here is the Heisey hallmark.
You think it was like maybe? You think it was a candy dish?
I'm starting to lean towards mayonnaise. And the only reason is I was doing a little bit of research, which is why, sorry, I spaced out a little bit. I appreciate it, Sean, for keeping my show rolling there. I was trying to get some more answers for some of this stuff, so I had something to talk about. So on to this item here is what they call a mayonnaise ladle.
Huh.
Oh, cool.
And I seen it several times with this dish.
Wow.
So I'm starting to think that maybe it's a mayonnaise dish.
Yeah.
Did you get them at the same? Did you get them at the same place?
Yes, this all came from the same store. So I'm assuming it came out of the same estate.
Was the spoon inside the dish or no? You put the two together.
I actually don't remember. I was filling my cart.
Just shove it in.
Give me another cart, please.
We've only scratched the surface so far, and the bad thing is I'd run out of space at that exact moment, and I missed two other pieces.
Oh.
By the time I'd gotten a larger cart and went back, they were gone, but I physically ran out of hands to carry it and didn't want to break it, you know?
I mean, what's cool is the color of the glass is exact same. It's got to be from that dish.
Oh, yeah. Well, they only made, from what I'm reading, they didn't make these colors for very long. Like, they would only make them for like a year or two. And they would switch to a different color.
Yeah. That to me looks like emerald green, which is cool.
Well, now they made it, now Heisey made an emerald, but this is emerald was much darker. So this is what they called their moon gleam, which was a lighter green. Yep. But it is very close to the emerald. But yeah, I don't have an emerald piece, or I would show the difference. But yeah, so this again, I mean, I don't know if you'll be able to see diamond. Maybe I have something a little darker that I can put behind it. Yeah, can you kind of see the diamond? Maybe not.
No.
Nah.
Yeah, it was worth a shot. But so this one is marked in the bottom as well.
And that's Imperial?
No, Imperial purchased Heisey in 1957.
Okay, sorry.
And that's when Heisey, so they bought the molds. And now the molds are owned by some collector association, the majority of the molds. So there's actually not a lot of, I guess you would say, fakes of the Heisey glass out there, because so many of the molds were purchased by an association after Imperial sold them. So the copywriters didn't, or the fakers or whatever you want to call them, didn't have a chance to get a hold of them and start producing the glass again, you know? So anything that they have put out, I believe, is marked IHC. Anything that was put out as a reproduction but intentional, they hallmarked it differently from the original Heisey diamond. So, all right. So we'll less cool things, but Empress dish. This is from what I'm gathering, this is the pattern that is on here, is what they called Empress. So, and then I believe this is a nut dish, but the nut dishes I've seen were round, so I'm not sure if they would have called this something different because of the oblongness of it, you know. But again, this is in that Empress pattern. And now there is Heisey out there that is not hallmarked. I learned that as well. They did use paper stickers on some of their pieces. So the patterns are very distinctive to Heisey and the quality. And it can be a Heisey piece without the actual physical glass hallmark.
This looks like a whole set, right?
Yeah, I mean, so far, yeah, it's all in the Empress style. The Empress and the dolphin head. So, but now this piece is marked right here at the top of the stem. Is where its hallmark is. So every piece here is actually hallmarked, which is really cool. Then we'll get into what I believe is a mustard jar, and it has its own little saucer that goes with it, which is marked in the center as well from Heisey. Same pattern. Now, I haven't seen another one of these yet from my research. The one that I did see was the twist pattern. I haven't seen the Empress pattern yet, so I still got to do some more research, but it came with its own little spoon, which is marked at the top, which you might be able to see this hallmark on it. Yeah, I'm just not going to win with the hallmark tonight.
That's a sugar bowl or salt.
No, mustard.
Really, mustard.
Mustard is what I was finding. So mayonnaise and mustard so far. Which is kind of odd, but hey, I mean, I don't know. I'm learning as we go.
Maybe that other one that was a nut one. Maybe it's for olives or something.
Yeah.
Figuring lunch thing going on.
I mean, and then the best pieces, or so I think, anyways. And again, they are hallmarked. Is this set of dolphin head candlesticks?
Oh yeah.
So these are really cool, and they're heavy. You can just tell their quality, and again, they're marked on the inside of this leg here, is where the hallmark is.
Now, would you
Since,
break this up? Would you break this up, Eric, and sell it separately, or would you sell it as a whole?
It's gonna get broke up. So that's just that's the way it goes with this kind of stuff, you know.
Wow.
There's a lot of collectors out there now. Obviously, I'll keep the set together, you know. But as far as the rest of it, I mean, the pieces that go together are gonna stay together. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know, the dishes will stay with the lids and stuff like that. But I won't sell it as a collection. It just there won't be enough interest out there. You know what I mean?
Huh.
So
I know,
even though we don't talk values, since everybody's always interested in values, these will go for about a minimum of about $200.
Whoa.
And I've got, I don't know, I think I have $30 in it all.
Nice.
So
Good job.
just to give that little teaser about value.
Yeah.
That was Snowbird Picker. Snowbird Picker wants to know value.
What's that? Cool. Snowbird Picker?
Yeah. Which is cool.
We just, I mean, you know, I stay away from it because I really want to focus on being a collector show and talking about the history of things, you know. But of course, this stuff does have value, and it is semi-important for people to know. I just don't want to make it at the focus of the show. That's all it came down to. I didn't want this to be a reseller show. I wanted it to be a collector show, you know, and just have fun.
And honestly, collectors are the ones who set the value because, you know, as a reseller, you buy something that may be cool and maybe you think collectible or maybe is. You put it out there, and let's say it's at an auction, and then that auction goes bum, 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 and if there's 2 or 3 collectors who want it, they don't care what they're going to pay for it. They want it. They're the ones who are going to set the value ultimately, right? Because they're buying because they want to add it to their collection. They're personal. They're going to own it. They're not going to resell it. They're going to put it in their own personal collection. So looking at us as collectors or approaching this as collectors, we're the ones buying the stuff, right? We're the ones buying the stuff to put in our own collection, and we're the ones who set the values of it so much. But, you know, sometimes, you know, you look at stuff, you go, oh, I'm not going to pay that much for it, but, you know, either way, we're the ones setting the values.
Right. Well, and that's very true, Dan. I mean, I've definitely always said that something is always only worth what the buyer's willing to pay. You know, and sometimes you get a buyer that's willing to pay a lot, and sometimes you get a buyer that's not willing to pay a lot, and that's what sets the value. You know? Yeah.
And you know, antiques and vintage collectibles, fine art and stuff, it's an emotional thing, as Dan said. So you get 2 guys in the room, and you know, it's off to the races. You know.
Yeah. That's why I have a problem at auctions, because you go to auctions, right? Especially if it's a lot of antiques and collectibles. You know, I'm there because I want to maybe resell stuff. That's my primary goal of being at an auction.
Right.
But other people were there to buy it for themselves. Well, there's no way I can compete with that because they're willing to pay more than retail just so they can own it. And I'm sitting there going, oh man, you know, unless it's something I want to own, I will pay more for it. But that's just really tough.
That's what's great about these things is you know, you might think, oh, it only has so much value online or on eBay or on WorthPoint or whatever, but like I said, you get 2 guys in the room and it's on, and there's no rhyme or reason for it.
Yeah. You got anything else? Or you want me to move on? I got some.
No, that's about all I got, but let's take a short intermittent break, and we have a giveaway from last week from Jason T. Smith.
Oh, yeah.
The first item he was going to give away was a vintage tiki mug, and the second item he was giving away was a Denison's glass, which, you know, despite my my conscience, I was really going to just put my name down for the Denison's glass, but I thought that would cause a little problem. So I went ahead and used random.org of all those people that went ahead and commented on last week's video. And so the 2 individuals that I came up with, let me get over to here, and hopefully they're in the room watching tonight. All right, so the Tiki mug is going to go to the Dino Dump. The Dino Dump won the Tiki mug. So he needs to get a hold of me. Shoot me a message on Facebook, YouTube. My email address is in the description this week because I also mentioned that if anybody's got a collection or a collecting interest that they want to come on and discuss, hit me up. We're always looking for guests, so no shame in shooting me a message if you want to get on the show. We'd love to have you. And then the Edison glass went to Pa Picker Dave, Pa Picker Dave is where the Edison glass went. So Pa Picker Dave, get a hold of me as well. Shoot me a message on Facebook or via YouTube or my email address that's in the description, and I'll get that information over to Jason Smith, and he'll get that stuff shipped out to you. He did let me know it probably won't be till next week because I believe he is in New Jersey or somewhere with Chris Green doing a convention or something. So we won't be back till next week to get it shipped out, but we will get it sent out to you if you get me your address. So so that's the exciting pieces from last week. And then Dan, we can go right back to you now. I just want to get that out of the way so we didn't forget before the end of the show.
Oh yeah, I was hoping that person they'd be there. I didn't speak up online or on the chat yet, so maybe they're not. So hopefully we'll get them on. Hey,
Dino Dump, by the way, will be on the R show on Sunday night as well. So.
Oh, cool.
Look him up.
Oh, good deal. Well, then hopefully he gets a hold of me by then. If not, we'll have to remind him during the R show to get a hold of me.
I'll remind him. Yeah.
Yeah, he won the Tiki mug, and Pa Picker Dave won the Denison's mug or Denison's glass.
Cool. All right. So I have something here that I always wanted for my own collection, and I wanted one working, but I ended up getting like 2 boxes full of broken ones instead. So I'm going to be working on it. But it's a Watchman's clock, and out of the case, this is what it looks like, and it's basically a clock. Is that upside down? No, I got it reset up. It's a clock. Let me get you one here that I can open up. So, it's a clock that is used for security guards. And here's the back. Here's the inside of this one.
Right up Eric's lane.
Yeah, there you go. You may be familiar with this. So basically, this is one in the case. Now it's been gutted. The actual clock mechanism is out of it. It's just the case. But this is what they would carry with them. Actually, they still use these today. They use them electronically. The wind-up ones they used up until maybe the 60s and 70s, but they're using electronic versions now. But it's really this leather case is really cool. I have about 6 of these leather cases.
Wow.
This is brass, by the way. This piece to protect the clock face, which is this glass behind it. And then there's this key. So how it works is a watchman would say a big plant. They were walking the fence line or walking through a plant, and they're checking different sections, and it may take them a couple hours to do their walkthrough of the whole plant. So how do you know they really did it, right? How do you prove that your guard was over here at a specific time or checking out this area, They gave them one of these. What this does is, the way it works is there's a paper disc that fits inside of here. This piece comes out and there's a paper disc. Right here is this is actually a print head that prints a time, and it prints it'll print a mark. I'll show you how the mark is printed here in a second. But it actually prints onto this paper reel. So what happens is they're walking around and they get to the first checkpoint, and on the wall or on the post near the first checkpoint is this little box, and it says Watchman Station. This is the name of the company, either the company that this was set at or the company that made these. So when he gets there, he's carrying his clock. He gets to the first station. He opens this box, and out comes a key, and it's a funky looking little key. And you can see, if I can get it focused better, right here, this little thing sticking out right here. Oops. It's
hey, careful that finger, man.
Wait, it's not. It's this one. it's the number 5, I believe. Looks like the number 5. It's like a typewriter print letter. It's a number 5. So what he does with this key is then the clock is moving and it's accurate. It's on time. The disc is at a certain place for the time. It moves the disc around for time. He puts the key in here. This key doesn't match this specific one. This is an older one. This one was made in 1924. But this key goes in, and when he turns it, it presses this number for the station. It's actually the station number. If this was station number 5, this would be a 5 right here. He would turn it, and it impresses it into the paper. So now they know that at 10 o'clock at night, he actually put the key from station 5 in there, and he impressed it onto the paper disc, and then went on his route. And he would go to station 6. He'd do the same thing, and it'd tell what time he actually was at each one of those locations. So they were sealed. This one was actually sealed with a key, so the watchman couldn't open it up and cheat, right, and take it out. This one actually, I'm going to have to pick this lock to get it out of here because I want to open this one up. This one actually ticks. It's got a little bit of ticking to it, so it's really cool. This is the key up here for the Watchman station. This kind of fits. It's backwards though. It's a little different design. It actually goes the other direction. I need a key that goes the other way. So I ended up buying. I've been wanting one of these just for my clock collection, and so I've got enough parts here that I'm going to try to get one working in its leather case. Put with my clock collection, and then I'll have a whole bunch of parts. I may be able to squeeze another 1 or 2 out of all these because we got a bunch of parts. But I bought 2 boxes of these at an auction just recently, and then I've got. I mean, decorative wise, even if they weren't working, the leather cases are really amazing. This is one here. This is an older one. It doesn't have the clock mechanism in it, but it has the metal case. The leather's a bit chewed up. The hinges are gone off of it. There's probably a side to this one over here. But
Dan, why does the glass have segments in it, Dan? Is that the
this here?
Of the clock?
This just protects the glass.
Oh, got it.
So it doesn't break. You want to be able to see the time, but yet, because this guy's carrying this around his neck, and he's walking around, he's walking around the place, and it's probably banging around. So it just protects it. That's what this on this one is too.
How thick is the glass? Can you tell? Is it like 3/16, like thick?
Yeah, it's pretty thick. I can just by tapping, I can feel it's pretty solid. It's not very. It's pretty thick glass.
Yeah.
But
that's cool.
They're kind of fun. They use them on the railroads. They use them in major big factories and plants, and basically it's like tracking to make sure that your watchman is actually going to those stations that he needs to go. Good thing Erik doesn't have one of these, or he wouldn't be able to sit at his computer at work.
Oh, really?
Don't tell your boss about this.
We wouldn't have a show every other week.
Don't be a hater now.
So that's happy. I have one more thing, and well, actually.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
Very desperate housewife wants to know how fast the paper disc in there moves. Or is it just the printer part, or?
It moves with the clock, so it's almost like an extension of, like, say, the minute hand. So it'll move. It moves based on the time. So that disc will just move, and then on the paper disc, I don't have any of this paper disc. I found some on eBay I was going to buy. The paper disc actually is segmented like a graph, and it has the hours. So it has 12, 1, 2, 3, and it has the minutes, all segmented like a graph, so that as you go around and you put that key in, you're going to stamp in the quadrant of the time as it goes around. So it moves really slow. It's going to move with the time. So it's not like spinning fast or anything. Hope that helped.
So fast time moves.
Can you imagine the guy? Can you imagine the guy who engineered that little device? I mean, he's thinking, all right, we got to make sure that this guy's working, and we got to make sure that the key we got to make sure that the key can't be
Duplicated.
forged or duplicated.
Well, look at
Probably
this. I
should
mean,
check on his own security
it's
cards.
like okay, we got to make sure the key. He can't take this key off the
Yeah.
wall and take it with him, right? Put it in his
Right.
pocket and just sit in his office and go, okay, it's 5 o'clock. Oh, it's 6
It's like
o'clock.
complete paranoia almost, you know. But
So these
what
things are-
year, by the way, Dan? What year do you think those things came out?
The earliest ones that I have seen were like the earliest ones I found I think are like the 1920s. Now they might have come out sooner than that, but the earliest ones I've seen, the one I have here is dated 1924. There's actually a stamp in it, but they're mechanical. These are all mechanical clocks that are inside of here. The newer ones are become battery operated electric clocks, and
There must have been a guy who had the job of watching the Watchman, and that replaced his job.
well, then there's a guy who had the job of repairing and replacing the paper and just managing. If you had a huge factory, you probably had 15, 20 watchmen, all the shifts throughout the week, and you're sitting there having to fix these things, kind of keep them going. So it'll be fun. It's a fun project.
The paper disc, do they have like a clock on them too, so you know the difference between like 4 and 5, or that kind of thing?
Well, the paper disc is marked by the time, right? And they are inserted so whatever time it is, they would insert it for the proper time. So that if it's 1 o'clock when you insert the disc, there's probably only one way for the disc to go in. Show back of this.
There's a question in the comments, by the way. So.
Hey, Dan, Drew, and Toadman there. Hey, go ahead and make a comment over on the YouTube video so that way everybody can subscribe to your channels. We got some people asking what your channels are.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead and throw a comment up. Yeah, anybody that wants to subscribe to them, great videos all the time. Drew especially is always pumping out some new videos. Matter of fact, he was out filming one with his shirt off. I don't know if that's going to be in the...
So, Snowbird wants to know...
Drew, you're going to do that over... Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be a...
Nobody wants to see that.
Or a paid subscription or what, but...
I'm a few years past my prime, so nobody wants to see that. I'm not gonna pull a bona fide hustler on it,
So Snowbird wants to know if I'm the old guy here.
Yeah. Snowbird asked if Dan's the old guy or the one of the guys with the orange hats.
I thought Erik was the old guy.
I think Erik's older.
Yeah, I don't know if we got enough new people out there to do a new guessing game or not.
I know. I think so. I think everybody knows. I got one more cool thing. I got this one thing that I can talk about real quick. It's a radio. Of course, you guys know I collect radios, and I lucked out with this one this weekend. One is this really cool looking.
I was gonna comment on that, but I just thought that was something you had hanging around and it was old, but that is beautiful.
I know, it's really neat. It's a 1953 Zenith. It's a tube radio. I'm actually got a video I just put together where I tested it and it works. The best thing is
you're the one that bought that from me.
No, this was a garage sale find.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not Bakelite. This is the Catlin plastic. It's called, like a predecessor to plastic. The back needs to be, the corners are a bit funky where that clips in right here. But let me pop it out. Try to do this backwards looking into the camera. It's kind of a pain. But it's a tube radio. You can see it. There we go. So there you go, tube radio. And here's the cool part about it. I love this kind of radio. See this right here? This is an input. It's a phono jack input. It was probably meant for like a turntable record player at the time. But what I do is I use it and I plug my phone or my iPad or a tablet into this, and I could play any of my music that I want. Usually it's like 40s music or old radio shows through the actual amplifier and speaker of a 1953 radio. And it sounds wonderful. So I really, when I see these on radios like this, I generally try to buy them if I can, because you can wire an input into one of these. I've been taking some smaller combination record player radio setups, and usually the record player's trash. The needles are gone. You can't find the needles. The turntable and the motors, the bands are burned out of it. So I take all that out, make it just a nice wood base, and make it an iPad charging station. You close the lid on it, make it an iPad charging station, but also have an input into the amplifier or the AM radio so that you can actually charge your device. It makes it more practical, modern practical, so you can have this antique device in your antique radio in your house. You can actually use it. You just don't want to sit and listen to AM, because all this is an AM radio. There's no FM on it. It's just AM. But you can also plug your phone into it or something and play music. So
that might make for a good show, Dan. Talking about repurposing antiques and
oh yeah,
when it's time to do that with something, you know what I mean, where you've really lost all the collecting and the historical value, and it's just time to breathe new life into it, like you're talking about with that record player. Or I know, like, I really enjoy steampunk a lot, and the industrial lighting, and that's another great example of repurposing, old stuff, into new antiques is what it becomes.
Well, people will generally buy this kind of stuff, and because, like in this case, it's AM. Well, some of us listen to AM. I mean, I do occasionally, but there's very few music stations on AM in my area right now. So if you want to listen to music, you're kind of stuck when you listen to AM. So by having something with the extra input, it gives you. A lot of people will buy these and they'll just buy them for decoration. But I like to see them work. I mean, I think it's cool to have a radio that works.
How rare is that input back there, Dan? I don't think I've ever seen that on anyone that old. And is that little input, is that porcelain lined? Is that a little porcelain socket?
In the center. I think it is porcelain. In the center it was.
Yeah.
Now, I have a 1946 console Firestone radio that has a phono plug in it. So it's not uncommon for more what was higher end radios at the time, to have that kind of a plug accessory to it.
And how do you access the back there? Did it have like little prongs that let you get in there to clean it and stuff like that?
Yeah, most of them, a lot of them are screwed in. Actually, the backs are the most rarest thing, because these things are just made out of cardboard, and they start coming apart here because people they keep going in and out of it, right? These are clips, and you see it's wore down. This corner is almost gone. This corner is almost gone. This one has a clip here, but there's a screw right here I loosened it a little bit so I could flip it off, but it's almost gone too. But yeah, this is the rarest piece. This is usually the first piece to go, and I bought a lot of radios that don't have this back. There's a guy that's selling them on eBay that he has the exact measurements for like every back you can imagine, and he's reproducing these backs up to the lettering and everything. They're very expensive, but if you really want to restore your radio back to perfect condition, you can buy backs like this, cardboard backs.
That's a good
idea. I didn't notice this before, but the back has a nice cutout, so you can easily get to that plug.
That's what that cutout's for. And there's a switch right there, and that switch will then switch it between the radio and the phono output.
I love that you play your iPod through that thing. I just think that's so funny.
There are apps that do nothing but play old music from the 40s, and all it does, and there's one app that I have that plays old radio shows from the 40s and the 50s. So like the Only the Shadow Knows and the Lone Ranger and all those shows, and so it's cool just to plug it into there and listen to it through your vintage radio. You listen to those shows.
Some Jack Benny and some.
That's usually what I do. I'll get We do have a station, an AM station. It's a local college station here that in the mornings, Sunday mornings and Saturday mornings, there's a guy who does old radio music. So he'll do old jazz, and he'll do, even up in the 50s. They do a lot of really old music. So I love getting up in the morning and hitting that station on my radio so that I can listen to it through my 1946 or one of my radios, listen to it. Kind of cool.
That is great.
Now, that was a great way to end the show tonight, Drew. Or Dan, they're just awesome. I didn't know that they had phono jacks back then, That's definitely something I learned about, and I'm going to be watching for, because Even though I don't listen to my iPod that much, I almost kind of want one just to plug it in, just to show people.
They used to sell turntables, just standalone turntables, just for that purpose. You might find them when you're out picking. A lot of them were for 45s. Philips made and it's usually they're maroon and gold, and they're this little tiny standalone 45 record player, and they used to sell them for that purpose. And they were powered separately, and then you would plug the phono jack into the back of the radio and run that. So that's cool.
Well, cool. Well, I've definitely you've helped me add something to my mile-long list of things to do. But with that said, we've got down to the end of the show. I want to quickly, obviously, plug the Allied Militaria Forum, the sourcingforum.com, the Reseller Society, all the other groups that are out there. Go check them out. Let's see. Try to think of all the ones. Well, we got Profit Talk on Monday nights. We've got the Green Room Tuesday nights, Meet and Greet Wednesday nights. Collector's Catacomb will be next week. Friday night is Toadcast. Saturday is nothing. And Sunday you got Picker's Church and the R Show. I don't know if I missed anything out there.
Just the morning show.
What's that?
Just the morning show.
Oh,
Paul's
of
morning
course. Monday, Wednesday,
Reseller
Friday. We got Paul with the Reseller Wake Up. So, yeah, go check everybody out. I thank you for viewing. We'll be here again next week. Not sure if we'll get a guest lined up or not, but no big deal if we do. Great. If we don't, well, we'll still be here talking about antiques, collectibles, militaria, and all this other crazy junk that we love to collect. Till next week, have a good night.
Keep on picking.
Bye, everybody.